Before Led Zeppelin became the biggest rock band in the world, there was a moment that could have changed music history forever. Jimmy Page, the mastermind guitarist, was searching for musicians to form his dream band after the Yardbirds broke up. One phone call, one no, and everything changed. The man who turned Page down would later hear Robert Plant say, "You could have had my life." But who was this mystery guitarist? Why did he refuse? And how close was he to becoming a part of rock's greatest band? Let's dive into the story that almost rewrote rock history. In 1968, the Yardbirds, one of Britain's most innovative rock bands, finally fell apart. Jeff Beck had already gone solo, and Jimmy Page was the last man standing, determined to keep the fire burning. But Page didn't want to just rebuild the Yardbirds. He wanted something new, heavier, louder, and more mystical. He started looking for fresh talent to bring his vision to life. He needed a drummer who could thunder, a bassist who could groove, a singer who could wail, and another guitarist to complement his sound. One of his first calls went to a young British blues prodigy, Terry Reid. At the time, Terry Reid was already making waves in the British blues scene. He had toured with the Rolling Stones, opened for Cream, and was being hailed as one of the most powerful voices of his generation. Jimmy Page saw something special in him, a mix of charisma and raw, soulful talent. So Page picked up the phone and made the offer, join his new band as the lead singer. It was an opportunity that could have changed Reid's life forever. But as fate would have it, Reid said something no one expected. "I can't do it." Terry Reid's decision shocked everyone around him. Why would a rising star turn down Jimmy Page? At that time, Reid was already committed to an American tour with Cream and was under a strict management contract. Breaking it could have ruined his career. He told Page, "I'd love to, but I just can't leave this." Reid later said he didn't realize how big the new project would become. To him, it was just another band being formed. But this band would soon become Led Zeppelin, and his decision would echo through history. Instead of leaving Page hanging, Terry Reid made a suggestion that would shape rock forever. He told Jimmy, "There's this kid from Birmingham, Robert Plant, you should check him out." Reid had seen Plant perform with a band called Ob's Tweedle and was blown away by his stage presence and vocal power. Page took the recommendation seriously and went to see Plant perform. One show later, Jimmy knew this was the guy. Without Reid's recommendation, Led Zeppelin might never have had its iconic frontman. When Jimmy Page met Robert Plant for the first time, something clicked instantly. Plant had that wild energy Page wanted, part bluesman, part rock god in the making. They jammed together, and within minutes, Page realized this was the voice he'd been searching for. But the chemistry didn't stop there. Plant introduced Page to his friend, drummer John Bonham, who would soon join too. What began as a chance recommendation turned into one of the most powerful lineups in music history, all thanks to Terry Reid's one phone call. By late 1968, Led Zeppelin was born. Jimmy Page on guitar, Robert Plant on vocals, John Paul Jones on bass, and John Bonham on drums. Their sound was explosive, their energy unmatched. Within months, they were headlining shows across Europe, recording their debut album, and rewriting the rules of rock. Meanwhile, Terry Reid continued his solo career, unaware of just how massive Zeppelin was about to become. When he finally heard Good Times, Bad Times, he knew. This was the sound of a revolution he'd just missed. As Led Zeppelin's fame exploded, Terry Reid's career took a quieter path. His solo albums were critically acclaimed, but never reached the same heights. Reid often joked that while Zeppelin conquered the world, he was still playing clubs. He admired them deeply. There was no bitterness. But the irony wasn't lost on him. Whenever he turned on the radio, he'd hear Robert Plant's soaring vocals and think about that one conversation with Jimmy Page, the one that could have given him that life. Years later, Terry Reid and Robert Plant crossed paths backstage at a concert. The atmosphere was friendly, filled with mutual respect. Reed had supported Plant early in his career, and Plant never forgot that. With a grin, Plant reportedly said, "You could have had my life, man. It wasn't a jab, it was a reflection of fate's twist." Reed laughed, acknowledging how close he'd been to that spotlight. It was a rare human moment between two men connected by one fateful decision. Despite missing out on Zeppelin, Terry Reid never expressed regret. In interviews he said, "I was happy doing what I loved. I wouldn't change a thing." His music continued to influence others, and his voice earned him the respect of legends like Aretha Franklin and Mick Jagger. Many artists, from Fleetwood Mac to Joe Perry, later praised him as one of rock's great lost voices. Reed's story became a symbol that sometimes saying no doesn't mean failure, it just means a different path. If Terry Reid had joined Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin might have been an entirely different band, maybe even a forgotten one. Fate had its own plan. Reed's voice might not have matched the raw, mystical power of Robert Plant's. His no opened the door for one of the greatest frontmen in rock history. And as for Reed, he remains a respected figure, a quiet legend who once stood at the edge of history. In the end, one decision helped create Led Zeppelin, and it all began with the words, "You could have had my life."